Joining BYU Sports Nation right now, Blaine Fowler. Blaine, first and foremost, have you ever played in a turkey bowl? And if you haven't, why not?
I never have played in a turkey bowl.
What? What is happening?
I know. That's crazy. I never have had a chance to play in one.
Why? Because you're playing meaningful football?
Because you're winning a national title?
Well, you got to think about it. So when you're in football from the time you're just a little guy, literally, you're playing. Like I started playing when I was 7. And back in New York, Little League goes until November. You're not allowed to play sandlot football when you're playing real football. So I never was allowed to do it. My coaches, my dad wouldn't let me play. And then when I retired, I've been broadcasting games ever since I retired in '86. And so I've had a game or two Thanksgiving week every year for the last 27 years. So I don't know. I've never had a chance to play. I didn't even think about that. And now I'm so old, I'd have to be all-time quarterback, two-hand touch, not allowed to rush me. Because I could still throw it around, but if I had to run, both of my hamstrings would blow right off the back of my leg.
Oh, stop. You're Bionic Blaine, remember?
Hold on.
You're in the bicep battle.
Now, wait a minute. How serious do you take a turkey bowl? It's just for fun. Like, they're the dudes that play tackle, whatever. You got flags. I don't know. I really question this. Like, you don't just go out with the dudes in your ward or whatever and just, play around. When you're older, I know. But when you're younger, you're in New York. There's not many members. I get it.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. So, I did play a little bit of church basketball after I was done playing for real football. And I played for a number of years with some really good guys that lived in our stake. But then one day I hurt my Achilles, actually my soleus muscle, which is attached to my Achilles. And I went to the doctor, and he said, and you know who I went to? I went to John Edwards, Lavelle's son. He's an orthopedic surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
And John's been a friend. He ran track at BYU when I was down there playing football. Great guy. And he tested it all out, and he says, hey, the good news is you didn't blow out your Achilles. He goes, but I want you to do something. I want you to take your license out for me. I said, okay. I didn't know where this was going, so I take my license out. He goes, what's the birth date? And I said 1963. And he goes, okay, I want you to subtract that from the current year. And I go, yeah. And he goes, how many years is that? And this is only when I was 42. And I go, 42? He goes, oh, yeah, if that number's above 35, you're supposed to stop playing church basketball. Are you crazy? I was like,
well,
okay,
then.
good object lesson. I learned my lesson. I will not play church. So at 42, I retired from church basketball. I don't have time to get a blown out Achilles.
I'm 31. I'm not retiring in 4 years from church basketball. What?
You might feel differently when you're 35,
As an elite
Jerem.
turkey bowl athlete.
Oh, my goodness.
Wait, no one breaks down turkey bowls like BYU Sports
Now to
Nation.
the less important things, Blaine. And on After Further Review tonight, BYU and Cal will be discussed at length as you look back at some plays across the season. The Cougars get ready for the Bears. So I want to focus on BYU basketball right now. What was your biggest takeaway from the Cougars and Aztecs last night in that double overtime thriller in Maui?
Well, I have to say that the game was not what I expected. I thought that San Diego State was good enough defensively to play the game at their pace, to slow BYU down, to cause them problems, and that San Diego State is very comfortable in the 50s and 60s in terms of scoring. So one of the best positive takeaways for – yeah, I know, it is boring, but the positive takeaway is that even though BYU had a horrific start to that game, once they settled in, they dictated the pace of the game. That game was played, and even though they never led in regulation – the game was played at their pace, the pace they were comfortable. So they imposed their will on San Diego State, who's a really good defensive team. And they got that score up where if you would have asked me before the game, hey, if this game's in the 80s or 90s, then I would say, hey, BYU's going to win that thing easy.
Yes.
And think about it. In overtime, all they have to do is be able to safely inbound the ball and get into the front court when they've got a 5-point lead, and they win that game. And for some reason, they weren't prepared to do that. And that's all they really had to do. And people can say, oh, the guy, he traveled with his step-back three, and he fouled Tyler Haws. Well, the bottom line is all you got to do is inbound the ball, for Pete's sakes, and get it up the court against pressure, and you win the game. You don't have to rely on the official making a traveling call, and you don't have to rely on him making a call on Tyler Haws. And so to me, they played close. They got, against a team that's very, very good defensively. And you want to know what? San Diego State shot way better than they have up to this point in the year. And I think Dave Rose's plan was a perfect plan. You have to dare San Diego State to make threes and jump shots because they're typically not going to do it. Now, last night they did.
They made 9 threes.
Yeah, that was an aberration, guys. That was an aberration. The game plan was sound, and BYU stayed in the game, and they played at their pace. And I saw some really, really positive things, especially with Kyle Collinsworth back for his first real action against a real physical, tough team, and I thought he was phenomenal. So I think the sky's the limit for this team. I think they're going to get better as they understand their roles. I'd like to see a little more low-post scoring to be able to go inside out a little bit more.
Where's that going to come from?
I think that Kaufusi can develop into that as time goes on. He's like a raw, crazy man right now, but I think that that's going to get better as time goes on, and he may be able to come off the bench with that second group and provide them with some post scoring because they need that. And
and that's not this year though, right? It's going to take a while.
Well, I think by midseason he may be able to give.
Really?
I'm not talking about a 16-point per game scorer in
Just
there.
a jump hook or two, right?
Just a guy where you can throw it in the post and he's a threat to take a drop step and go to the rack. And I think he can develop that. A guy that can score 8 in the post would be good because Nate Austin's not a back to the basket kind of a guy. Worthington, he's better than he was last year, but I think the guy that can match up with really skilled big guys from a physical standpoint is probably Corbin Kaufusi. So if he can develop, especially with a second group when he comes in and plays against the other team's number 2 center, if we can get him scoring 8 to 10 a game in the offense itself,
that'd be
then
huge.
that's going to open up things for Fisher and for Tyler and for those guys that are roaming the outside. And we're not going to rely on Collinsworth to have to create everything by penetrating into the paint and kicking it. We'll get some stuff by throwing it in the paint and kicking it back out. That's the only thing missing right now. And so I'm telling you, I am very bullish on this basketball team. I think that this team can develop into a really good team after what I saw last night.
Blaine, there were 7 guys that played the majority of the minutes last night. Tyler Haws, Kyle Collinsworth, Chase Fisher, Nate Austin, Anson Winder, Isaac Nilsson, and Corbin Kaufusi. As BYU moves forward, do you anticipate that Dave will rely more on those 7, maybe 8 guys with a Skylar Halford or a Dalton Nixon that comes in and that the bench will get a lot shorter?
Yeah, I think the bench will extend one guy at least because Halford, when he's healthy, is going to get significant minutes. We've seen that he can come in and be an energy defender on the perimeter, and then he can score some points and push the ball in transition. So I think it'll extend to that. I do think that there's going to be times when Nixon will, based on matchups, will get more playing time. I do think we'll see Toulson play some. But I think what we saw last night is not that far off, with the exception of Halford playing significant minutes as they move forward. And then he's got other guys on the bench that, based on matchups, if you get a team that you're struggling to rebound against, all of a sudden Sharp plays more minutes, you know. So he has the ability, Dave has the ability to mix and match his lineups to give him some mismatches for the other team. So depending on who they play, they can do some different things. But I think what you saw last night with the addition of Halford and maybe Nixon playing a few more minutes is probably what you'll see for the most part moving forward.
Well, Blaine, thanks for the time. I know we talk hoops, but tonight, 8 Eastern, you check out Blaine and the boys on After Further Review on BYUtv. Blaine, enjoy Thanksgiving.
You guys should have a good turkey bowl. I will not be participating.
Blaine Fowler, always delivering. Thanks, Blaine.